Okay, it's 5 o'clock. If I could call to order the Pump Storage Advisory Committee meeting. If everyone could just take a moment of reflection before we begin. Thank you. There any disclosures of pecuniary interests, the general nature thereof? No. Okay, public participation. Some members of the, not some, all members of the public are encouraged to provide the committee with their comments and questions. Presentations must be prearranged with Sue Brown, Project Administrator, Pump Storage Advisory Project, before the agenda is released. Members of the public who wish to make a deputation about a specific agenda item at the meeting must register in advance with Sue by 4 p.m. Today. Do we have any presentations today? No, and no deputations. Okay, so we'll move on to the minutes. First, the minutes of the September 11th regular PSAC meeting. Can I get a motion? Adam, in a second. Bob, all in favor? Aye.
Any discussion?
Are there any discussion on the minutes? Do it again. All in favor?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to mention, we just need one motion for both minutes, so.
There is something I want to call out on the
Yes.
second one.
Yeah,
though.
that's
So on the for the minutes of the September 18th meeting, there was a correction. It showed that the meeting ended at 3:25 p.m. That's been updated for everyone. It was a little later than that. Again, with that, could I get a motion? Thank you. In a second, Martin, I think. Any discussion? All in favor? Good, thank you. Okay, so this is the first agenda that where we have the standing items set up. And what we're planning to do today is have TCE answer some questions that we provided to them. Really in there's been some meaningful activity. This is an opportunity for TCE to tell us about not only the barge that's out there, but other happenings that are going on with the project. And so with that, I guess we'll ask the questions of Clark, are you
Yeah,
you're all set? We're all set for you. So maybe if it's helpful for any folks that are watching or folks that don't have the agenda in front of them, I'll read the question out that we asked of TCE and then allow Clark to respond.
Solution where set this up. I'll explain it. If
Sure.
you're not happy with that, we go back to that. Okay. Yes, I'm just speaking extemporaneous. Yes, I don't know. I'll use this only because I don't have slides. Right. Good morning or good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to respond in person to your questions. I think it's great that I have an opportunity to talk to you. It's been a long time since the first meeting, and I'm very pleased to be here to answer your questions. I have arranged my replies to your questions chronologically because you've asked for information concerning the past, information concerning the present, and there's a lot of duplication in answers to each of those questions if I do it that way. So I would ask your indulgence to for me to proceed to talk about things chronologically and with the goal of answering all of your questions. And if I miss something, then please come back to me at the end. I don't think I have, but I may have. All right. I also want to spend a little time on the past but I do want to emphasize what is coming, what we're looking at coming in the very near future, and to give you some heads up or some thoughts and some data about important activities that are going to land before Christmas. So focus on those issues that affect the municipality directly and the residents and ourselves. And that would be the way I'd like to present this. When I'm talking about the important activities that are happening now or in the future, I'm talking about the offshore geotech. You've seen the platform, it's on the slide. I'm talking about the impact assessment that's coming. And I have 2 sentences about the community benefit agreement, which are just sort of close out the whole briefing. So let's go back. So I'm going to use the 3 open houses that happened that TransCanada Energy initiated or executed here at the end of 2019 and early 2020, December, January. There were 3 open houses. Some stuff happened before that I want to inform you about. But for me, that event tremendously changed our whole approach to the project and has actually led us to where we are today. Those were important engagement. And it is an example of how companies or our company can respond to public input. It's a really, really important example. Why do I say that? Because the Impact Assessment Agency, there's going to be a lot of community engagement. And I just want to reinforce the fact that the public has a voice. And this is a classic example of how the public's voice made significant changes to this project. Before those 3 sessions, we, TransCanada and the Defense Department, were engaged in a dialogue to find a suitable location for the reservoir. It took 3 attempts to do that. And on the 3rd attempt, D&D and ourselves landed on the current location, and primarily because that location avoids disruption to military training in the Defense Department's eyes, and also avoids risks associated with that military training for us. And that location, I don't know, everybody can't see this, but if you've been to a coffee chat, you'll recognize it. You can see the domestic site here and the reservoir and so on. That's the site that was agreed on after the 3rd attempt. After the engagement of in late 2019 and early 2020, the project office went back to the drawing board, and they made significant changes to major elements of the project. And this is kind of an artist's impression of what those changes were. Essentially, everything above ground except the reservoir went underground. Moved the major elements underground, including the powerhouse, off the shoreline, back under the reservoir, near the reservoir, some hundreds of feet below the surface. Moved the inlet and outlet proposal further offshore and modified it significantly so that they could try to meet a new design target that the water velocity coming in and going out of that during operation was approximately the same as the natural current. Those are the 3 major changes, and the significant changes, because essentially it turned this from a above ground project to a mining project in order to, yes.
I apologize for interrupting, Mr. Chair. I
Sorry.
just wondered, Clark, could you possibly move the drawings one side or the other? They're kind of behind you and we
I can
can't
hold it
see
here.
them. Well, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Right here. So So that's what we have. Everything went underground. Just to remind you of where we are with that. There's additional detail. I don't know how much time I have. How much time do I have?
2 hours.
Really?
You are our meeting today.
I was told 15 minutes, so I've got, 15 minutes of bullets, 2 hours. You can't put up with me for 2 hours.
You test us.
So I will then.
No, Clark, in all fairness, I understand that, but you are the thing on our
Okay.
agenda today, and we.
So
yeah.
I might just wander off script. I know there's people somewhere in the world watching me and my company. When I say wander off script, I'm probably going to hear the moans.
Sorry, Clark, just hold on one second. Yes, sir?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's only deputations that are limited to 15 minutes. This is not a
Yeah, this is
deputation.
open. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I may wander off script just to give you some more background on some of these topics. So those were the major changes. We also have a plan, the concept to take the transmission line on the bottom of Save Georgian Bay. Save Georgian Bay, right? Where's my head today? On the bottom of Georgian Bay. And we're still, those concepts are still under review. We have a new team in town. Some of you have met the leaders of this team, not in town, in the company. We have a implementation team, a technical team who are responsible for bringing this project from where we were in the summer to the beginning of construction. That phase, that development phase. They're very experienced. They've just come off a major project where they did amazing work, laying a 700-kilometer pipeline underwater. And they're in town, they're established, and you're going to see much more of them. And eventually, I'm sure shortly, you'll see them here or you'll see them at council meetings presenting. So between 2020 and 2025, we did a lot of things, and we're continuing to do them. Field studies is the subject of this briefing. Although there's engineering going on, there's commercialization of the project being considered. And of course, there's this environmental assessment, which is all going on behind the scenes. But the field studies are visible and impact the municipality. So I'm going to focus on the field studies. We do field studies to assess conditions, the risks associated with those conditions, including on the range, on the land studies, including the risk associated with pre-existing contamination. And we do those so that we can better inform the engineering process, which is ongoing. So today I really want to get into a little bit about the geotechnical work we're doing right now and the offshore, near and offshore, as well as talk about water and groundwater. I will note that we have done groundwater studies on the land, on the base in 2021 and 2022. I will also add that there are plans now for doing additional groundwater studies for 2026. I can't give you any more detail about that. I can't tell you where it's going to be or what they're going to do. We're not quite there yet. But it's all designed to determine where the groundwater is moving right now so that we can reduce the risk of potential problems when we start to construct. We've done some random soil testing, or we did some other aquatic work from the year 2000 to 2020 in the fall, when you first started to see the motor vessel Wheeler, the indigenous fishing tug traveling back and forth up into the range area. Since 2020, near and offshore water testing that was done at the same time we did aquatic studies, meaning flora and fauna, fish, wildlife, things like that, that were in Georgian Bay. I will also note that we've also done some random soil testing up on the base during the same period. And I think it's safe to say that you will have detected that we paused our field studies during the year of 2024. It had nothing to do with the field studies or what we were finding. It had everything to do with higher level governments. We were pretty invisible in 2024. But we started again. And we started with geotechnical studies designed to collect scientific and physical data needed to inform all aspects of this project. The offshore studies, that's the barge, you're all familiar with. We started them in July, and they are likely, you will likely see the plan is to have that barge off the water next week, weather permitting. I have to throw that in because we had to extend a couple of weeks because of weather delays. Not weather delays that would affect us as residents, but weather delays, we're talking about wind and waves, which made life a little challenging out there. So they made up that time and they're finished either today or tomorrow. I think but the plan is to move them out, get them back to Owen Sound next week. In September, and we informed people about that in early July. In September, we started onshore geotechnical studies up on the range. And those studies are designed to do the same thing that they're doing in the water, which is to get core samples of what's there, what's under the surface. In the case of the marine or the water, it's what's below the bottom of the lake. In the case of the land, it's what's underneath the soil. And when you're doing a design like the one I showed you, which is powerhouse, really, really a long way from the surface, it takes time to do the core sampling and to finish that work up. So they'll probably be doing geotech studies on the base into 2026. They don't have the same problem with winds and weather. As long as the equipment doesn't freeze, they can do the core sampling. The geotech studies simply, can you just, next slide? Oh, I got this. Does this work? Yes, press the button. Go up. Next. The geotech studies are designed to, they involve drilling into the bedrock. And this is a cross-section, a representative cross-section. It's not to scale, but it does give you an idea of what it looks like sideways if you're looking at this operation on the water. And the whole goal of this is to get core samples for geological analysis. Here's one of the questions you asked me. The prime contractor is WSP. It's a Canadian company with an international reputation. They oversee the work and the analysis of the data. And the analysis of the data will be released to the public during the environmental assessment phase. And I can talk more about that in a minute. Those words were carefully chosen, the analysis of the data. So if we look at this sideways here, they use the barge to put a drilling rig on it. The drilling rig is the same sort of rig you'd see if you're doing a drill for a well on your property. This is a temporary barge. You can move it. It's actually finished its 4th borehole. And its next trip is going to be to Owen Sound to be disassembled, put back on trucks and moved. Maybe. I have no idea where it's going, who's using it next. The barge was moved into place in late July. And I just wanted to draw your attention to this diagram to demonstrate that there are a number of very important environmental safeguards incorporated into this offshore operation. And what you're seeing there is the drill, two casings, an inner casing and an outer casing. The inner casing holds the drilling rotating mechanism and the bit, and it needs water to drill into the bedrock. So the water is pumped from the barge down into the hole, the first casing. It lubricates, does what it has to do, lubricates and cools, and then it returns up the same casing to on deck. So it's a continuous loop pump. When it gets up on deck, it's put into large white water totes. They're the big sort of cubic meter, or not meters, but the big white ones with you see the screens on the side of them, the big wire screens. The water that's used in that inner casing does not touch Georgian Bay's water. When it gets in the totes, it's then taken ashore and a third party comes in to remove the tote and the water and process it accordingly. The second casing encompasses the first casing, and that's the fail-safe. Anything that leaks out of the first casing or it comes up from the bottom and somehow doesn't get caught up in that water circulation is captured by the outer casing. And this dual casing mechanism is common in all of these all projects where they're drilling into the bedrock on water. It's to prevent cross-contamination of the water body they're on. And it does a pretty damn good job of doing that. That's one of the environmental safeguards that are incorporated into this offshore operation. So that, I don't know, am I allowed, can you ask me questions now or do you want to wait till the end? It's entirely up to you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, through you to the CAO. I don't understand. This is a trial.
I'm happy if the committee has questions along the way that we can ask. What I don't want to do is derail anything that you've got organized as a presentation.
Write them down and I'll hopefully catch them at the end. Okay.
Sue, can you help move the slide ahead one?
So part of this operation is what we call hire and buy local. TransCanada Energy is in the process of instituting a hire and buy local policy. They've used it before in other locations, and they are going to bring this project in under that umbrella. And this is essentially a system for contracting and subcontracting, where those contractors will be graded on their ability to find and use local manpower as well as local suppliers for local goods and services. This was an opportunity for us to fine-tune the hire and buy local policy to see how it works. And WSP tells us that over the 2 months over the water and the land geotech, which will be finished sometime in January, the land stuff, there's probably $150,000 of benefits coming into the region, with the lion's share of that coming into Meaford. I have a number from a month ago, which was $60,000. I think it's on the slide. That had been tracked by WSP is where are the workers spending their money? Where are they living? Where are they eating? Where are they shopping? And I think that's encouraging. I think we asked JD Meaford, the president of the Meaford Chamber, to to make a comment on that. And I'm just going to quote, he's encouraged, quote, encouraged by WSP's commitment to sourcing goods and services from businesses in our community. They are committed and it is working. I don't think you're going to see it reflected anywhere else except in maybe some of the businesses that are getting a little extra business. But it is an example of what is to come. And I think it's a small example as we try to build trust with the community that we really do mean what we say. And we're focused on directing as much as we can into the municipality of Meaford. There are some numbers on that from the CanSIA report. I don't have them in the briefing, but the CanSIA report stopped at the county level and they couldn't go any lower because of the analysis they were doing. But they did put a pretty sizable number on Grey County. And I think that's remarkable if we can make that happen. We're going to need your help to make that happen probably, but the intention is to get as much spend and hire as we can, or as you can handle into the municipality of Meaford. And this is the first example of that. I'd like to just take a second to talk about the impact assessment process.
No, just, yep.
So the regulatory process, I'd just like to give you a couple of statements here. One is the agency that does it is going to do it is the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. It's a federal organization. The reason that is happening is because this is on federal land, largely on federal land. I'm going to explain to you how it starts and what happens soon after it starts. Our goal is to start the impact. First of all, we are proponents. The only active role we have in this, independent of the Impact Assessment Agency, is to start the project or start the process. We petition the Impact Assessment Agency with a document and an email or a letter that says, we want you to register and start your process with the Ontario Pump Storage Project. When that happens, a clock starts ticking. And that's the only reason there's a clock is to sort out all of the activities that happen throughout the entire environmental assessment process. And we intend to petition the IA team to start the process before the end of December this year. So what can you expect? We'll submit the document and request them to formally begin the process. After that, they take control of the whole process. The first stage of process, and this is off of the environmental assessment webpage, the IAA agency's webpage, they've got a really bang up sort of diorama that two-dimensional where you can see the five or six phases. You can click on each one. You've got all the information you need as to who's involved, who isn't involved, what happens. It's really complicated and it's time consuming, but it starts. And the first phase is called the planning phase. It's their planning phase for the impact assessment. And it can last up to 180 days from the start of the process. Up to 180 days. Typically, at the beginning of the process, the Impact Assessment Agency will conduct stakeholder engagement, not us, unless they ask us to, but their job is to conduct the stakeholder engagement early in the planning phase. And they will inform stakeholders of their planned activities, methods, and timelines shortly after we formally shortly after they start the process. I can't give you an idea of what shortly means, but it's in days and weeks, not months. There will be something go up on their website, which will show that we are now officially, TransCanada is now officially being administered in the Impact Assessment Agency. And they will then set out their timetables, their activities, and their instructions to stakeholders and to ourselves as they march through the process. I would encourage you to go to that website and have a look at it, because the second phase is called the impact assessment. That's a document. And the timeline on that is 3 years. So today I'm not going to, I'm not in a position to even get into that and discuss what's going on in it. We have experts who are knowledgeable and entrenched in this regulatory process. And I think if there's a need to provide you with more information somehow, we'll bring the experts in to talk about it, because they are the people that know what's going to happen, and not when it's going to happen, but what's going to happen, and are knowledgeable of the entire IA process, very knowledgeable. Some of them have done them before on major projects, which is helpful. I certainly haven't, but I wanted to alert you to that because it is coming. We are at the 9th of October, and it could land within 60 or 80 days in the Impact Assessment Agency. And then everybody who wants to comment is going to have a period of time to do so. And that timeline will be articulated by them shortly after we started. So that's where to go for information.
Clerk, sorry, if I could just ask a question about that. So the Impact Assessment Agency becomes they're doing the work in that?
Well, they're not doing the work, they're running the process. They're going to go through their checklists, which are on the site, and they're going to gather information. They're going to triage it, categorize it, and give it back to us and say, here are the issues. Essentially,
yeah.
What are you going to do about it? And then we produce the reports that everybody wants to see, right? We haven't done that yet because we don't know what the issues are going to be.
Is the 3-year time frame for the impact assessment process, does that include that last step of TCE responding, or is it
No,
3 years before they give you the list of?
No.
things?
That's going to come sooner than later. That 3 years is for the company to respond to the issues.
Okay.
And then give them back to the assessment agency and the public at the same time. And then there's another engagement process in there somewhere where everybody can take a crack at our papers that discuss all of the issues. All right. So that's why it's 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
All right. It also explains why there's no reports written yet formally, because we don't know. I think we could probably guess, but we have to respond to the impact assessment issues list.
Right.
I'm really outside of my depth right now. So you need to go to the site, have a look, and if you've got questions, ask us. And then we'll, if we have to, we'll bring an expert in to talk to you.
Great.
But it's going to be busy for us, and I'm not too sure what how the municipality wants to respond in this, or how you and the municipality want to respond on this, to this stakeholder engagement. We'll just have to wait and see what transpires.
Yeah.
The last topic, and very briefly, I'd like to congratulate you all, especially the councillors on
Sorry.
moving. Yeah.
If you could, we've got a question.
Yeah. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bart.
I'm just wondering, so once your studies are done, on whatever's required by the impact assessment. So you complete the work, because they don't do the physical work. They don't put rubber boots on and go running around the tank range. You're gonna do that work, and then they're going to review it.
I don't know. I
Well,
can't
I
answer that.
think that's my understanding as
Yeah.
a layman. If that's the case, here's the question to you. If that is the case, would the pump storage, the town, be given access to those studies so they could have a third party review on their own?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, but it's a good question. And I think that in the spirit of what we're trying to do here is get that question articulated and get it to us on behalf of the Pump Storage Committee, and we'll get a formal answer for you.
Okay, so you will get an answer for us?
If you sent it to me, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so.
And if it comes from PSAC, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yep, Shirley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, just in relation to that part of the motion in 2023 on February the 27th, one of those conditions was that there would be third-party reviews that would be
Peer reviews.
peer reviews, right? So is that what you're suggesting now? We have to determine what that's going to look like, because, you know, through that motion of conditional support, TC Energy has already agreed to fund those.
Those would be the reports that need to be peer reviewed. And I can't tell you when they're going to come. I'm sorry, not tonight. Not because I don't know. We're not there yet. Yes, those are the reports that will be peer reviewed, and there may be others. I mean, we get the community benefit agreement, we may decide that there are other reports that relate specifically to the municipality of Meaford that are outside of the IA process. If that's the case, then they would have to be picked up. Maybe they could be picked up as part of the CBA agreement. Meaning that's how you'd get them. And I don't know. It's honestly, we have to keep an open mind on this. Our perspective is to give you the information you need when we can give it to you. So back to the CBA, I thank you for, I'm glad that we're all moving in the right direction now, the same direction now with respect to the CAO's recommendations in the last council meeting. And would I be out of line, Mr. CAO, if I mentioned that there's a meeting being discussed about how to kick this off? I'm not in a position to talk about it, only because it's not my meeting, but maybe
Someone else here could.
Mr. Everett could give you some insight on that.
With you, Mr. Chair. So the meeting that Clark is talking to or referring to is a meeting with what we refer to as the town's core project team, as well as the team from TC Energy, and that will be facilitated by Strategy Corp. We're trying to get that meeting arranged for later October. So that's what the goal is to have that initial meeting to sort of start looking at the parameters and start looking at the format of negotiations for that CBA. So early stages, but looking at getting that meeting established in a short period of time.
You just mentioned the core project team. Could you just share with us who that is or what you're envisioning for them?
Yeah, so that core project team is made up of our director of engineering, our town clerk, as well as our director of development services, and our small medium business liaison and myself, and then potentially two other staff on that as well.
We're conscious of the part two of that recommendation, which is some sort of a draft document by the end of June of next year and just Q2 next year. And just mindful of what else is going on around us, That's going to be a challenging timeline. I think everybody needs to step off smartly and get ready to start to discuss things because that time will fly by. So. Right. So this was set for 15 minutes. I think I used 40. So I only had 6 pages. I was really off script a couple of times, but if you have some questions, I'll try to answer them.
Yeah, I'll speak on behalf of the committee. We certainly appreciate you being here. So if there are members that have some questions, if you can try to keep them
Of course.
concise for me. Jen?
From my notes, you've answered 2 of them directly, which is great, but the other 3 not so much. Can we touch base on the number 3, the water one, basically the baseline testing? Can you answer A, B, and C directly? Those questions, we can read them out if you'd like.
Sure.
So has the baseline testing of water quality been initiated?
Yes, we started testing water in 2020, in this fall of 2020. And we have continued testing water up until 2023, the last time we did aquatic feasibility studies. Yes.
Okay. What is the plan for testing of shoreline and offshore water quality?
Those samples have already been gathered. That testing we have 3 years of data. I'm not sure there is a plan to go forward with more testing, is what I'm saying. I don't know.
And then the part C is, what is the plan for the testing of water quality and quantity of private wells that are in proximity of the proposed pump storage facility?
Right. That's an initiative we mentioned probably 3 years ago. That would be helpful to do that. We are now thinking about how to best approach that and what role the municipality might have or might or might not have in that. Those are preliminary discussions. So other than it's on the agenda internally to work on, I can't give you any more detail.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Clark, you're gonna the committee. So we've done a couple of things here, but one of them was a motion to council, or maybe it's not a motion, whatever it's called, to council about baseline sampling of the things that residents are particularly concerned about in that catchment area, about getting well testing as part of how do you provide comfort to folks that there isn't an issue, is by showing there's not one today, and then as the project goes on, there's nothing, then there's no issue. And I think there's some anxiousness that we're having a hard time getting that baseline testing agreed to. Get it that we can't decide that we're doing it next week, but just alignment that yes, we will do some of that testing. That's probably more of a statement than a question for you, but just want you to be aware. I think that's sort of where many members of the committee are with it.
Okay. I am sensitive, not sensitive to, but I am aware that the council, when they got your recommendations, I'm not too sure what the next step was agreed to in that meeting. So I think what we want to do now at this stage is we'll talk to the CAO and see what happens next.
Okay. Good. Yep. Shirley.
If I may, Mr. Chair, the next step from council was to come back to TC Energy and to ask you to share information and updates in relation to exactly what we're talking about now, about how you were proceeding with that water testing and so on. So I guess we're getting some of those answers here this evening, but I think this is going to be an ongoing concern.
All right.
Are there other questions for Clark? Yep, Bob.
I'm trying to think of how to ask this question on behalf of the people watching. It is apparent to me that what we're dealing with is over the last few years, we've had many public forums and people have demonstrated their concerns. They've written them in, they post them on social media. And if I was a member of the public at home, I would be looking at this saying, okay, so I have to really pay attention to this impact assessment agency activity. Because in the new year, there is a renewed opportunity to share all the concerns, to make it part of the checklist by which testing's done, baselines established, and mitigation understood. So it's sort of, to me, a heads up here that in something in the order of, mid-January, mid-February, there will be a call to the public to say, make sure your concerns are on the checklist. And that's a good thing, because I've reassured a number of people who've asked me questions about this, that the concerns form the checklist of a successful project. If people have concerns about their groundwater, those can never be brushed aside. I mean, we should be probably, I don't know the methodology that's sound, but we should establish what the flow is of the present wells. We should establish what the chemical content is of the water running through their wells and how much treatment they're doing, whether it's iron or sulfur, whatever they're dealing with. That baseline needs to be established right away. Because when there's a problem with it, I would think that the community benefits agreement or something would form the safety net for those households to say, we understand that we've had impact and here's how we're going to mitigate. But again, I'm listening to this and hearing a heads up that in the next very short period of time, this is a really good time to make sure your issues are on the list. And that my follow-up then would be, who keeps the list? Where can it be found? And, how does the public engage that list so that they see that their concerns are on there?
I think you're absolutely correct. I don't think I mentioned the words January and February in my presentation. So it would be very important for you guys and the municipality to get onto that impact assessment site as soon as we file to start it. And then you're going to find out, it may take a day or 2 or 3 or 5 for them to post their schedule and their timelines. And then you'll know for sure what the length of the engagement time is.
Yeah, Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, just a question, kind of going with Ginny's theme as well. The first question on the series of questions is, can TCE provide a clear timeline? I remember one of the first images that TCE shared was a start date in 2019 and anticipated milestones throughout. I'm sure none of those, if I saved that image somewhere, I'm sure none of those dates are the same, but can TCE provide us with a simple line with some dates on it, with some estimated or updated information on when they're going to file, when they anticipate the return, when they anticipate their studies to be done? Just that's milestones that we're going to need.
So we're not giving to, we don't know them. That's why I can't give them to you today. Because we don't know what the impact assessment is going to do in their process. Right? So once the impact assessment people say, here's our timelines, then it's going to be pretty easy to give you the line. So if I gave you a standard histogram or a standard, it would have variance on each one of the dots that would be almost as big as the gap between the 2 dots. And it's, it doesn't help. That's why I'm focusing on that first phase and giving you what we understand to be the initial activities of the IA and what you can expect.
Do you know when you are going to file?
By the end of the year.
Okay. I guess one additional question.
Let me just qualify that. that is the plan. So if it doesn't happen at the end of the year, please don't crucify me. The plan is to do it before the end of the year. There are a number of factors that could upset that plan. But that's what we're aiming for, and that's what our company is getting ready for. And are going to submit before the end of the year.
How will you notify the public that you submitted?
We'll figure out a way to do that,
Okay.
right? Because I think it's important. We'll let the CAO know what's happened. We'll let the municipality take that.
Okay. One other question for you. With the enactment of several federal and provincial legislations, are you committed, regardless of what they are, the environmental legislations that have come out? Is TCE committed to completing environmental studies regardless of what Bill C5 or whatever it might be called?
That's an interesting question, and one that I'm not going to be able to answer today. Let me put it a different way. Have you read Bill 5?
Yep.
Appendix 10.
I don't remember specifically if you're referring to something, but
It's captured in Bill 5 is at least one appendix that talks about species at risk. So it sounds like even with Bill 5 working, and we're not, as of this afternoon, there's no suggestion that we're going to be sucked up into that either of those two. But I mean, it's not our call. We are planning forget the tariffs, forget Carney, and forget the whole political scene in the last, whatever it is, since November. We are planning that none of that happened, and that we're using the current regulations from the Impact Assessment Agency, and those are the instructions we're following. If they change them between now and the end of December, then whatever they change them to, we will respond to. But I'm just saying that because otherwise it's not workable. We can't be second guessing these guys. And so that's what we're planning for, which would be exactly what I said. We're going to file, there's 180 days, but they control it. We don't, right? I'm sorry, I can't be more definitive. I just don't have the information.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two questions, if I may. Firstly, Clark, you've mentioned a couple of times that we should go to the IA website for information, and I'm just wondering if we can do better than that, and we can possibly arrange a greater level of communication so that we're not all having to check that every day to see if there are any updates. Is there some way that you can let us know, perhaps whether it's through the CAO, so that this committee and council are aware that there is news? Because I think a lot of us are busy and we just won't have
The
the
only
time
news
to
I'll
be
be able to
constantly
give you
checking.
is the following sentence. X number of hours ago, we filed application for the impact assessment. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be able to give it to you ahead of time.
And once that happens, then
I think
will
that's
there
a fair
be-
request, Deputy Mayor.
Yep.
Through the chairman. We have absolutely, we have nothing to hide here. We want you to be involved as much as you can, as
Mhm.
early as you can. So we'll let you know when that happens. You've seen us come out with embargoed stuff before. We'll figure something out.
Thank you. My second question, if I may, Mr. Chair. In point number 4, in the questions that were provided to you today, can TC Energy provide an overview of the ongoing offshore and land-based drilling activities, which you have, along with a high-level review of the findings of these activities to date? Is there anything more you can share with us in relation to that high-level review of the findings?
I have no findings. I
None?
have no analysis.
Okay.
All right.
And just so I understand, because that's with WSP, the contractor that's doing the work. Not
Well,
with-
I don't know what the process looks like, but they're doing the geotechnical review. They have somebody going to look at those core samples.
Yeah.
And they're going to write reports. And then a geologist, then those reports will be given to TransCanada at some point. and go into the, the database.
Yep.
The information that you seek, I think the analysis is probably pretty important as a first step. And the analysis will not be released until we get well into the environmental assessment. Unless there's some reason otherwise to do so. I don't know what the hell that is, but that would be part of the environmental assessment. And we'd be directed to build a report on endangered species, right? Just for example.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is going to happen. People in the company be flexible. We'd be directed to provide a report. People will say the endangered species are A, B, C, and D. We're not happy. They're, and we'll theoretically we'll get an issue saying you need to comment on what you're going to do about endangered species, whatever that's going to look like. Then we write the report. Then we send it back to the impact assessment agency. Once they have it, we have to clarify whether it can be released publicly or not. But it's their report. They're asking us to do it. They will get it back, and at some point, there'll be petition probably to release those reports. That's my best answer right now.
Does the municipality get any of these reports, given that the project is resident in the municipality? I'm just wondering if, without asking,
I think what we need to do is get in. First of all, between now and the end of December, the answer is unequivocal no.
Yeah.
I don't even know what reports we've got, quite frankly, what analysis has been completed. So we need to get into the IA and then take a look at that question in the process of getting started and moving forward.
Yeah.
Because right now, you're not going to like the answer. But once we've started and it's in the IA, well, who knows? I don't know. The IA is going to control that information, not us.
Okay.
That's my understanding. Nobody's called me yet. I've got my phone on ring. Nobody's phoned me and said, take that back. So I'm feeling pretty emboldened with that. So I absolutely sense the energy, and you'd feel much better if you knew something. We don't have anything to show you that would work yet, right? It's going to come. I'm sorry, I have to keep saying.
but I think the key, though, is TCE petitioning to the impact assessment agency for them to start their work. That's a key date that we've been talking about for a long time, and that's coming in, barring anything, by the end of the year.
Our goal,
Yeah.
and it's in the public domain, before I had this conversation with you, is to file before the end of December. Right?
Okay, good. Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a few points. One, this discussion has been very good, and I'd like to think that the terms of reference redo provided that this platform. This is not a one-off. The anticipation is, and I fully anticipate that members of this committee will be providing questions on a regular basis. And as you recall, the terms of reference, we've had some latitude today because the terms of reference identify that we wouldn't actually take questions on the fly. Most of these questions have been referencing the existing questions, but committee members have the opportunity to submit their questions to myself. Then those questions will be submitted to TC Energy, which then would trigger TC Energy coming back November, December, January, February, how often as we see fit. So this isn't a one shot only, which again gives us the opportunity, on a monthly basis to ask TC Energy to come and give us an update on the status of submitting their application. I feel extremely confident in saying that the relationship that we have, the municipality has, I have no questions or concerns asking TC Energy to provide us with an update when they submit, and then look at the municipality being able to provide some communication, not only through this committee, but also the greater community. Because at TC Energy, I honestly think that for this, like, they're not going to want to hide anything. We may be able to provide a reach so our community can actually know when that submission, know when the question period is, know when it closes. So I think there's some great opportunities there. The other thing that I just want to identify is the municipality does provide a pickup for water testing. And the water testing, bottles can be picked up at 15 Trollbridge. Individuals who have wells today, they can pick up the bottles and it gets sent off and it gets tested. That's a fantastic way to start your own baseline testing. That's available today. So I'm not sure if everybody knows that, but those bottles, I believe it's Tuesdays, I believe they're picked up at town office, and your address gets tracked and you get the results of what your water testing is. So the other piece, just while I have the floor, and if you can indulge me, there's been some questions about you know, the roster of consultants that the municipality has engaged in the past. And though there's 4 external, there's Red Brick Communications, there's Ainley's Engineering, Ainley's and Associates Engineering, Strategy Corp, and Gowlings. One of the questions was, are we using all these consultants? And I will say the one consultant that we are actively using is Strategy Corp, because they are the most active in the field of the community benefit agreement. We are not actively utilizing Red Brick Communication. And currently we're not utilizing Ainley's or Gowlings, I would say, because right now, and as Clark has presented, there's really nothing to peer review right now from an engineering perspective. There was a significant amount of work that was done by Ainley's in the past. And the one thing I would question is what they reviewed is not even relevant today. So I just want to be crystal clear. The reason why we're only using one of the consultants is because at this point in time, they're the only relevant consultant that it makes sense for us to engage with. And we have the ability to bring those individuals, those companies back if we see fit, and if there is a review to be completed. So those are just pieces that I just really want to identify that, and the Pump Storage Advisory Committee is the conduit to our community members. And I just want to stress, and from everything I've received from TC Energy, if we provide them with a list of questions, and I've got a few already, they will be here to present. And quite frankly, I think that's the best use of this committee's time, because you're getting real live information to the community and you're not listening to me talk. So I'll stop talking right now. Just a few points I'd like to raise. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple things. First of all, I have to respond, Sean, to your statement about water testing. I'm aware of public water testing. I think it's, you know, since the issues that we've had a number of years ago, it's available everywhere. The things that we're concerned about, that I'm concerned about, and my neighbors concerned about, are not tested by public health. Public health tests for E. coli, things of that nature. And I don't think for a second that this project is going to increase the levels of those things. What myself and the people who talk to me are concerned about is what they don't test. So the Army base has been used for 80 years, and they've used every known method to learn how to kill people. And during those things, there's many exploded ordnance. That means that, you know, shells that have gone off, fires that they've taken place, where they've tested different fire extinguishing methods for, you know, for troop carriers when they catch on fire, which is logical. And these are the things that we're concerned about, and these heavy metals, the toxins, PFAS, dioxins, furans, they all exist or could exist on the base. None of those are tested by public health. So I think your suggestion is a good one, but it's not going to solve or give, not solve, but let's say give peace of mind to the residents that exist around the area of the base whose wells may be contaminated with. The only thing that would give these people, myself included, would be if we set up a baseline. And now I'm going back to item number 3 on the questions that I don't think really got answered. I think it got shoved off elsewhere. I think that, Clark, you were stating that you've been doing water sampling for many years. And some of those sampling must be complete. And what I'm saying is, I think it's our responsibility to suggest that TC Energy starts this process, irregardless of what the impact assessment says. Because it's important to the people that live here today. And when you're up disturbing the soil, these things will start to happen. And that's why we need to have baseline steadying, not 3 years from now. And I'm certain that, impact assessment will look at some of these things. But I'm not even sure what standing the public has with impact assessment. We will have a voice in the sense they'll listen to us, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have any enforcement to get things done. So I really believe that this water thing has been kicked back and forth, and we haven't got any concrete answers. And I don't think public water testing is what we're looking for. So what I suggest, would like to have happen, and I'm speaking just for myself personally, is I think that we should go ahead and set up this baseline studies, and we should look at either you're going to draw a circle or decide which wells you're going to test. You're going to test because there's a lot of people who are on the water who draw their water from the lake, including the municipality. So I believe this needs to be set up. So that's my statement on there. But it's these toxins that we're concerned of, and these toxins are not going to be something that that the contractors at TC Energy hire is going to haul in their pickup trucks. They exist in the soil. And when that soil is disturbed, when it rains, water flows downhill. You go on the water and look uphill there, the tank ranges above everybody else. Water flows downhill. So eventually that will get into the groundwater. It will get into the, it comes down the ravines. That's what I'm concerned about. Now, the next question I have is for our CAO. Do I understand this procedure that we can no longer have a discussion like this with a TC Energy or someone else? We can ask questions unscripted from the floor, that we have to have them ahead of time?
So through you, Mr. Chair, that was identified in the terms of reference. So that TC Energy, when they came, they were well equipped and well informed to provide questions. Yeah, so that was clearly stated in the terms of reference.
Let me add, the purpose of it was to make sure that we didn't invite someone in every month to come in front of us and then barrage of questions that has no preparation time for. So the idea is to capture as many as we can, present them in writing to them. As chair, I think I get a little bit of latitude, and as we're asking questions that our presenter is open to answering, I don't think we'll have any difficulty with that. But we don't want that to be the practice of asking questions.
Still like
You turned it off.
we're not able to ask microphones. Oh, sorry. Is that on now? Yeah. Will we or will we not be able to ask questions? That's what I'd like to do. I mean, we don't want to bring them in with no scripted questions ahead of time. So we try to think of all the questions that we can have. But we should have a little latitude to ask a question if during this, during the presentation, if the information exists with the presenter, would be nice to get.
Yeah, and I think, Bob, my intent is that we'll provide that latitude, but if it becomes uncomfortable, we're going to stop that. If it's uncomfortable for Clark because he can't we want him to come here. And if he can't answer the question, then you just can't.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand that. And, you know, he's not a dartboard and I don't expect him to be one at this point in time. But I just would like to be able to, if something comes up that I feel is fairly pertinent, then that we go ahead and ask that question.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, and I totally respect that. I think the idea is if the presenter doesn't have the answer, it's not viewed upon as them just not wanting to give it. They have also the latitude to say, that's a great question. Can I respond to that when I come back? Right. So it's just keeping that, and this has been great. And I agree with the chair. The chair has the latitude. And when the presenter is offering to answer any additional questions, that's sort of the opening as well.
Thank you.
Yep, Ginny.
I just want to make a little side note. I know in the towns meeting, they were talking about trust and misinformation, all that good stuff. My suggestion as a goodwill gesture from TC is you do that testing. It's a very simple thing. People just want to have clean water. They're not asking for millions of dollars, but as a multi-billion-dollar corporation, that would be a small thing you could do for this community to build trust. We shouldn't have to beg for it. It would be a really, good faith gesture for them to do that.
Thank you for that. And I'll take that back. Thank you.
Any other questions for Clark? No? Okay, so thank you, Clark. Really appreciate you extending your 15 minutes by an hour or so. Yeah. So next we have SON on the agenda as a standing item. I'm not sure that we have any agreement with them that they're planning on attending. They'll be there. They're welcome. We'd love it if they would come and attend the meeting. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, sorry.
I just have a question. Have we contacted the SON and has there been any response?
Through Mr. Chair, we did send a letter. We do also have a meeting coming up with them early November, just to have a more of a discussion about, building that relationship.
The next item on our agenda is the committee inquiries. I do have one. Lindy had to resign. We talked about it briefly at the end of meeting, but Lindy resigned. She congratulations, went to university, can't make it. That's awesome. But we as a committee are one member short. And so what is the mechanism to replace Lindy? Hopefully someone that hits that youth characteristic.
Through Mr. Chair, so I do have a report that I'm penning because there's a few committees that are going to be looking for applications. The terms of reference again clearly identifies there is that requirement for that youth component. So that's how we'll be advertising that position.
Okay. Are there other committee inquiries? Adam?
Yes, I actually have two kind of boring but housekeeping inquiries to put forward, Mr. Chair. One being after watching the Heritage Committee meeting, staff was able to give a bit of a high-level overview on how a committee works, how to put forward a motion, how the motion carries through council, how we operate as a committee. I don't remember this committee getting that little blurb. So I'm wondering if we can request staff to come and give us that same presentation that the Heritage Committee got.
Help me, how long did that take? Like, was it a 10-minute, 15?
Yeah, I believe 15 minutes. A staff member just went over how a motion carries through council, how we present one forward, how we amend it. Because I believe in the past, we've had some friction when putting those things forward.
Or at least confusion, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they've already got a presentation that they did for another committee, so I'm jealous and I'd like to have it too.
I think what I'm hearing is Adam is asking if we could add to the agenda next time, that a similar overview to what the Heritage Committee done.
Yeah, happy to, through Mr. Chair, happy to do that. I think the appropriate person would be, I'll see if our town clerk can come in and provide that that information.
Thank you. Yes, Adam?
And thank you, Mr. Chair. And with our new terms of reference in place, we also had the option of a hybrid style meeting. Again, actually in the Heritage Committee meeting, they spoke about hybrid and staff members said that this was not possible. So I guess my recommendation or my ask is whether it's a notice of motion that we put forward a recommendation to ask council to ask staff for a full assessment of what the technological hurdles could be or are in order to facilitate what our terms of reference now can allow.
Through Mr. Chair, no need for a notice of motion. Council has already provided direction. I can tell you our IT, manager of IT is working with purchasing and procurement to look at putting together a RFP for it.
Awesome. Any other inquiries? Any? Nope. Okay, with that, we'll go to communications. The committee will consider correspondence received by members of the public during each meeting. To share your comments, thoughts, or concerns with members of the committee, the public can send an email to pumpstorage@meaford.ca. When emails are received to this email address, they'll be compiled into a correspondence list, which is then distributed to committee members prior to the meeting. Cover sheet will be listed and included on the agenda, the meeting agenda. Contents of the correspondence are not included on the public agenda to protect the privacy and personal information of those residents that choose to send in their thoughts and comments. There is no correspondence that we have received at this time. Right. Okay. Public questions. So we've got a 15-minute period for some public questions. I am energized to see that we actually have some public here. So, yep. Sorry, Adam. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess some clarification. Is this 15 minutes per person or 15 minutes altogether for all public questions?
Interesting question.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's 15 minutes all together.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I could, so everyone that will have but if you could just keep in mind that we got 15 minutes with some latitude. Mr. Ashmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This method of taking questions and going through the process of delay, etc. I'll give you an example of why it's not working. You had a speaker on noise, and I've not heard that question come back to this committee and be asked of TCE. So apparently it's not gone right round and through the system and taken 3 months or 4 months. So what happened to the question on noise? You had a speaker here that said certain tests should have been done by now. Have those tests been done? Apparently not. So your system's wrong, it's not working. So that's the first question. Second question, January and February for public meetings are very difficult for residents of Meaford who are snowbirds or cottage owners because they're not here. Is there any way of catering to these people to extend these dates into April so that we can have proper attention to all residents of Meaford? Thirdly, talk about things going through the cracks. I hear scuttlebutt, there's a fault been identified up in the reservoir area. So something falls through the cracks, and it could get a lot worse with the testing there. So that's 2 things falling through the cracks. Lastly, the question of how does the silt on the bed of the lake affect the design of the piping necessary to extract the water? I hear 50 foot of silt above the bedrock. Would the pipe not have to go through the bedrock? So you have 50 foot of silt above it. How does that affect the viability of this design? It doesn't look appropriate. So thank you very much. If someone could answer those questions, I'd love to hear the answers.
I think that Mike, and you're not going to like this answer. I think that we're we don't actually answer questions from the public here, but we've heard them and we will get back and try to satisfy them.
I'm not expecting answers right now, but it would be good to get some answers. So I have 4 questions and they're under the category of feet to the fire in terms of holding TC Energy's feet to the fire. It's a great phrase that I learned from Deputy Mayor Cavini. And it's also about us, the public, having trust in TCE and the process. So that's the umbrella of these questions. So I'm uncomfortable with the impact assessment timelines and why they're so short, coupled with we're not going to get the data from the testing until, if I understand it, Mr. Clark said till after the project has been registered. So these are very short timelines, and fair isn't the right word to use in this arena here, but it isn't fair for the public not to have enough time to respond, or to the committee to respond, or to councillors to respond. Public has not had a chance, to my knowledge, to set some parameters for testing that TCE might undergo, like for climate modeling, because that's going to affect the project. So why haven't we, or have we had a chance to expand the parameters of the testing criteria? I'd also like to know who appoints the Impact Assessment Review Committee and what is their confirmation bias? And I guess lastly, I understand that Strategy Corps hired Sago, which is a strategy and insight company. Clark doesn't know. So, but it's in this document that TCE Strategy Corps provided to the town way back. And Sago is an interesting company. It's multinational, and their business is to get the proponent's mission accomplished. So if you look in here, they'll tell you there's First Gulf, there's the Association of Municipalities in Ontario, there's Holcim, and there's Generation Mining that they give examples of here in this document, and how they've used social media, influencers, paid advertising to garner support for their project and to get the project through. So is Strategy Corps hiring Sago to ram, excuse my language, I guess, but it's true, to ram the project through? Like, I just think we're powerless on here, and I'd like that not to be, because
Thank you.
me.
Yeah.
Karen Coleman
Thank you.
with weird spelling.
You touched on a few things that are a bit out of the purview of I don't know who makes up the impact assessment review, but yeah. But I think it's important, though, that in that impact assessment is when the residents are invited in with public engagement to help with those parameters. That's what I heard today, and that there may be some opportunity there.
I just feel that the parameters are closed, and my question is, are they really closed? Because if they're registering the project at the end of December, like, how are we going to scramble to ask the right questions? And that information should be shared now. All their data should be shared now, and the parameters of their testing should be shared now, so we can hit the ground running. And we've asked for that before, and I'm just very disappointed that we haven't got it.
Thank you. Yes, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if just a couple points, and we usually don't answer questions, but there is a couple points that I think would be worthy of just clearing up. So the first one is in regards to, I believe it was Mr. Ashmore, about the noise. I can tell the committee and those here and watching, there have been noise monitoring on site. that was made abundantly clear to me from TC Energy. So the noise recording is definitely something. The other piece was Ms. Holman had identified Strategy Corp and Sago. I totally agree with that comment. However, we are actually the proponent. Strategy Corp has been hired by the town to represent the town. They are not representing TC Energy. So I really do hope Sago is doing exactly what they say, and I feel they are. They are representing us and looking after our best interests as opposed to TC Energies. So just wanted to clear that up.
Sorry, Paul, can you just, I think Mike just wanted to very quickly. Yeah.
Oh,
thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In response to the CAO's comment, I don't think it's the noise monitoring on site. I think it was when the speaker said that there has to be a noise test for the installation of the major suction valves, because that's where the big noise was going to be. And that his opinion was it was clearly going to fail any particular test that was out there. And so the test had to be done well ahead of time. So that's different from constant noise monitoring. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Remember to say my name this time. It's Paul Young, I'm resident of Meaford. I'd like to thank Bob for his very eloquent description of the water testing concerns. He did a great job. I spent 40 years working in that industry, and I actually invented the equipment that is used for testing water in all of the British Isles. So, and I just finished over the last 4 days reading 600 pages of water testing results on the base over the last 6 years. So I can tell you where the strontium, the uranium, the PFSAs, I can tell you where all that stuff is. And I'm not going to waste anyone's time here, but there's lots of it there. And it's been there a long time, and it's still there. And what I know about water testing, especially if litigation is involved in terms of remediation for damaged wells, that water testing is not cheap. It has to be done very carefully by regulated agencies that do all of that kind of testing. And there has to be very careful control of the samples and just called chain of custody. Who has them? Where are they stored? Where do they go? It's not a job for amateurs, and it should be starting now before the construction has to contaminate things more, and then call that the construction. If we do the water testing too late, the construction will have contaminated, and that will be called the baseline. And so we'll be having a false baseline. So the tough question I have is the town willing to consider retracting its approval of the project if the water testing doesn't happen before the project starts? I don't expect an answer.
Yeah,
but I think
thanks.
the thing is, we have conditional this, conditional this, conditional that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when the general answer is, we don't know yet, I don't have that information, you'll have to get someone else to do it. Maybe we can talk about it at another meeting. When that seems to be happening, town's conditional approval is a flag in the wind, in my opinion. Anyway, the last thing, Clark mentioned specifically that we will not get the data from whenever they do have data, we will only get the analysis. And my understanding of that statement, which he said was carefully worded, is that it's interpreted by someone else and we get to read the interpretation. That the raw data, which we probably can't understand, but somebody could, is not available. So in the 600 pages of military testing that I read last week, the raw data is always provided as well as the interpretation. So I think we should be a little tougher on that. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Amanda Greenfield, RR1 Meaford. CAO, I'd like you to comment further on the decibel or noise regulation. Was that taken on the rig?
The description I've had is it is both on the rig as well as on shore.
And where can that be disclosed?
Disclosed,
The
I would s-
readings?
but if the committee would like to make that ask to TC Energy, the committee can ask for that information to be disclosed, and it would be up to TC Energy. They're the ones who are doing those monitoring.
So to follow up with that, CAO, it's because on 3 different occasions within the last 18 months, the municipality of Meaford has promised to furthermore look at their bylaws in regards to light, sound, and air. CAO or members of council sitting around the table, can you please advise where we are in that, since that has been told that this would be provided back? I have not heard any response on these new bylaws.
If I could, I think you're asking whether any of that review of the bylaws for noise that was talked about some time ago, if whether that. what staff
Multiple
has done
times
that.
ago.
It may predate your participation, Sean. in the
It does, however, I do know that from a noise bylaw, we do have an existing noise bylaw that if there were any concerns, operations of what is taking place on the water would fall into place if there were in fact concerns. As far as light, I would have to get back, I'd have to talk to bylaw to find out where that light pollution, I'm assuming that's what the bylaw would be discussing. And then what the third bylaw was,
Air and noise.
so air and noise, I have to go back to council, to staff to find out where the status of that is. And again, sort of out of the purview of this advisory committee, but ultimately Ms. Greenfield could come to council and pose those same questions and see where council would like to set priorities on.
CAO, they've been poised 3 times now. Thank you. Again, just going back to Clark Little's presentation, he made it very clear that TCE is doing their own assessments, which will be involved with the environmental assessment. And then, as we heard, these reviews are done in a checkbox. In addition to the deputy mayor's mention, a part of conditional support, you spoke of a peer review. I'd like to remind everyone that that peer review is a paper review. It's administrative. It is not a third-party, unbiased company or consultations. I'd like to know if the deputy mayor meant just the paper review or if we would consider having an unbiased third-party organization do their own assessments.
Mr. Chair, I will respond to Ms. Greenfield. The conditional motions suggest third-party reviewers, which will be chosen by the municipality to review any reports, analysis, whatever they are that are provided to the municipality. We will choose those people, and I'm sure it will come to us in a written format. And my expectation as well is that that particular third-party reviewer would come and present to council in lay terms so that people can understand what is contained in those reports.
Thank you to Deputy Mayor. For Clark Little and TCE, I appreciate the slide that demonstrated the bore drilling. In regards to the bore drilling, was there turbidity curtains provided around those drills?
Again, it's not an open question period for TCE.
Then I'd like TCE to respond to that at a later time.
Sure. I can tell you that we didn't see any in any of the diagrams that were drawn.
Thank you. My last is a comment, and it's a comment to all residents of Meaford as well as the Council of Meaford, to note that now we have 7 municipalities around the bay in opposition of TransCanada Energy. Newly yesterday, Tiny Township has made their motion opposing TC Energy's pump storage station here at the municipality of Meaford. Thank you.
Sure.
I have to just follow up with a comment, if I may. I'm curious to know how many of those 7 municipalities reached out to TC Energy for information or reached out to the municipality of Meaford for information, or whether they made those decisions of their own volition without verbally reaching out to, again, TC Energy or our municipality.
That is a great question, Deputy Mayor, and wonderful that TCE had their opportunity to do presentations to all of those townships, and they did.
All right, are there other questions?
Is 15 minutes up yet?
Yeah, but we're in the waffle room. So.
Well, I've got a big writing here, question, and then I got 2 pages. So I think I'll just leave you guys with 2 pages. You can read it over and you don't
Thank you.
have to do it today. And again, with what Amanda just referred to, Tiny Township on October 8th, I was very impressed with the research they did with respect to their decision. Of course, they came to a logical conclusion for any municipality in the Georgian Bay area. Let's protect the pristine landscapes at all cost. When will our council accept known and indisputable facts about the consequences this pump storage hydro project will present and cancel your support of this boondoggle? Now, you may or may not agree with boondoggle, but all it is something that wastes time and energy for no apparently good reason. So if you don't like the word, to say it all out loud is too many words. So again, that's it. I will leave the rest, which is sort of a combined long question that would have been a deputation.
Can we accept that long question and then send it out to the committee as part of correspondence?
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
we'll have it.
Yeah, it's whatever you like. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the considerations that up for grabs next year at the election time is a possible referendum for the electors of Meaford. I would like to know how the Pump Storage Committee and also the council, if the question could be referred to them. I believe it's a 6-month notice required. So if we could, in April, decide on a referendum, then we could have a referendum at the same time as the election in October. Thank you very much. If you could consider that matter.
Thank you.
Just one last
Last one,
clarification
thank-
for the CAO.
Sure.
You said that the town is the proponent for Sago?
The town has retained the services of Strategy Corp to represent the municipality.
Right. And Strategy Corps hires out to Sago for public engagement.
I did not suggest Sago. That was part of the conversation. That was part of the delegation, and just clearly stated that Strategy Corp is retained by the municipality to represent the municipality.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yep.
Sago has as a client the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and I'm wondering if there's a conflict of
Okay,
interest there.
if I could, thank you for the question, but we're just gonna try to narrow it down a bit. Well, I guess that's sort of the end. So our next meeting is Thursday, November 13th at 5 o'clock. With that, I will call this committee adjourned.